Welcome back. Welcome back to Tug of Heart. Welcome back to another 40 minutes of sifting, sorting, repairing, kind of a mental triage that we do here
Hmm.
between twins. Um, I'm going to start out by taking a second to tell you, uh, give you really a heartfelt apology. I know there's a couple of listeners that may have been waiting on Tuesday. Uh, for a story for whatever reasons, the comedic value, the life lessons, the benefit, or just the soothing sound of our voices. I don't know. But anyway, we weren't here. We had some home repairs that were urgent and they needed to be done. Could not wait, and so that took precedence. And so, along with that apology, I say thank you for being understanding. And if you made it back today, thank you for tuning in. Before we get going, Strong Island Entertainment, thank you for giving us this platform uh, to just kind of figure stuff out. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about being sorry, and that's probably why I'm telling you I'm sorry. Um, Being sorry it's kind of complicated. We're going to kind of get into it right away because there's being sorry, saying sorry, uh, being apologetic, and then there's changed behavior, which is probably the premier display of true sorrow. And in being sorry, they're sorry for hurt. They're sorry for hurt that we didn't even have anything to do with. Um, people's uh, people's struggles. We're sorry when other people struggle. Just like people offer us condolences during our lowest moments. Sometimes that's just something that's just enough to help us through. Lori, welcome.
Hi, Leroy. Good
How
to
are
see
you?
you. Good to be with you.
I know, no kidding.
And
It's
I
been it's
join your
it's
sorry
amazing.
in being absent.
I am. I'm so. You know what the truth is, Lori? I'm sorry because I wasn't here.
Right.
Not so much for a listening audience, but for myself because it does me so much good to be here, and I like it. I enjoy it. I've come to kind of rely on it. It's my. I don't want to say it's mine. It is a therapeutic exercise for me,
I
and so
think that's one of the greatest secrets of life is just taking a moment to get into the heart, the pause, as you call it, um, where you just kind of take that moment to align yourself at least with the space of your heart, even if it's for a moment. What you do with it is another matter, but at least to get there, that's half the battle, man. Half the battle, right?
yeah.
So I think showing up is that. I was also thinking it had washed over me this feeling of when you said sorry that we hadn't been here, and then you expanded on it by saying that sorry ultimately at its perfection, if you will, means changed behavior. And before that, I was thinking when you said sorry, I was like, ooh, to me that's a commitment to not repeat something. And I was making a mental note like, okay, so I have to work this out, like how to make sure I can not do this. But I think you and I had already done that pre-sorry, so I was happy for that. A way to ensure it's not repeated, right? Isn't that a big part of it?
I mean, I think to think that we're going to jump from, an indiscretion to, yeah, never going to go there again. That's probably a bridge too far, a
Yeah, a little bit
bridge
of
too
stuff
long.
before that, right? Is where we want to start.
Let's just get through the baby steps and talk about, uh, you know, acknowledging it and accepting it.
And recognizing that feeling.
Yeah, recognizing when we're
It's a
wrong.
that's tough. And I'm going to say, in this day and age, I feel like it's a little bit more exceptionally tough because people are told they're wrong so often that you kind of get to where you have to learn to live with it. If your belief is different than somebody's, you're wrong. Generally, it's said as if you have wronged somebody to think different. And now, and this isn't. so much like a comment on society, but I am saying this because it does amount to what sorry means, because you hear it so often you can become desensitized. Everything I believe is wrong to somebody who doesn't think like me. So we get to this place where we have to be able to identify truly harmful behavior to another, or behavior that's not right, and to separate that from everything that everybody accuses everybody of. And also, starting with probably our children on, we began this idea where they could write us a note saying, "Mom, I'm sorry. Dad, I'm sorry." And we're like, "Aw, come here, hug, over." So when you and I are talking about it today, my interest is really in the heart of heart. What does this mean, and what do you do with it without all the noise and distraction?
I like that. I think before we dig into this, because it is really really good, and you mentioned something that always just, you say it often, and
Uh-oh.
it triggers something in my head. You say this day and age, and I think one of the things I hope that we walk away with today is truly understanding. Um, we don't want to become perfect at being sorry. We want to become better at identifying when we've done something that requires an apology. Because
Can
you
you
said
say the second
society,
part again? I'm sorry. Better at.
uh, that was a one hit wonder.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
But but when society tells us we're wrong, you said they tell us repeatedly, we're wrong, we're wrong, we're wrong. And the truth is, if we're wrong in society's eyes, you really have to take a look at the caliber of the person or entity telling us that we're wrong, because the more wrong we are this day and age, we may not be so wrong.
Right, right.
Because I don't see I see a lot of flaws in the current movement.
Well, like you said,
Um,
upside down one time, the world is on its head.
it is on its head.
So you can call up down and down up sometimes. And it's
Right,
trying to get
right.
there without the judgment, but authenticity, I think, is what it sounds like you're saying. I think
So
that's what you were
what I
getting
was
at.
telling you is we don't have to become perfect at saying sorry, but we should become better at identifying um, the authenticity of the perceived injustice or hurt or pain or insensitivity, or fill in the blank. I mean, sometimes when people tell us something that is just honest, and it hurts so bad, and like, I'm sorry, probably shouldn't have said that, and then they refrain from it in the future. But what are we breeding here? What are we breeding? A bunch of people that are untouchable because they live however they live, and they can't be hurt. I mean, the only way to improve is to probably go through a little bit of pain. But let's go from there, and let's go back to kind of sorry
Hmm.
for a second. And I think the sorry that we most often think about really is when we do something we shouldn't have done.
Right. And we
Like,
become aware of it.
I did something, shouldn't have done it. Judging from the vein in your forehead, probably shouldn't have done that. Um, so I think that's what we're thinking about. But there's a lot of, a little bit more velvety sorries, and those are, the soft ones when we see somebody going through hardship. And I truly, unlike any other time in my life, I truly felt sorry for you and your situation, with Seth's passing, and with Seth's diagnosis, and with Seth's fight. It was incredibly brutal, and I was more sorry than I've ever been, even when I did something I knew was wrong. I mean, I was really sorry, sorry at a level where I literally, and again, this time that we spend here is never to lead, guide, instruct on your belief system. We're not here to challenge your belief system. But I prayed, Lori, I prayed that I could carry a piece of it.
Right.
That
And you
I
did, and
that
boy,
that
did you. Did you ever?
this little boy, this wonderful little boy, that something that somehow I could relieve some of it. That's how sorry I felt. And it wasn't a, oh, I feel sorry for you. It wasn't like that. I mean, it was almost unexplainable. But I think that when we do something that is just wrong, I remember when I was younger, I would do something that I knew was wrong, but I was still in the kind of development stage of a personal identity, and I spent a lot of time. And so when somebody would tell me like, wow, that's just wrong, I would get insistent, no, I wasn't, and then I would get embarrassed because I was wrong, and it was very hard to say sorry because, and I think that's something that we would spend a lot of time. It's futile, but we try to sidestep being sorry because we're developing an identity. And if we identify that there are holes in our new identity, gaps, cracks in our new identity, it's very hard to kind of say, okay, that's a trait, that's a piece of knowledge, that's a character attribute that we can put behind us and just comfortably rest on it because we're I mean that's hard. But as we get older we realize we're constantly in a state of growth, and I've become quite comfortable being sorry. I do a lot of stuff that's just crazy. So how's this sitting with you, Lori?
Well,
How's
I'm over here scribbling away what you're saying. The first thing was when you spoke about Seth, it points to me this idea, which philosophically maybe I've thought, but not like set aside and taken a good look. But now I'm a little bit more interested in this, and that's the idea of that sorry need not come from being like conscience stricken, right?
hmm
So that's one because I generally think of if you want to go into like do I have anything I need to be sorry about? To me, it I picture tapping into your conscience. Is there anything weighing on it? But that's beautiful that you said that because I just realized too after you had told me a couple times sincerely, I'm so sorry. I'm probably the biggest sorry you've ever given me. And
without a doubt.
it wasn't a moral violation on your part. And I got this tremendous sorry. And I've actually repeated that to people a couple times in a new way where I'm like, where before I would have tried to kind of guide them through it or have something meaningful to say. And it's been a whole lot more useful to just be able to be like, there's nothing I can do to make it better. I'm so sorry for you. And it's a tremendous tool. Now, not just used as like, a way to be efficient with sentiment, nothing like that, but in a
Mhm.
true way, it's the most honest I can be. And just by first experiencing the other end of that, I never realized that there's this kind of honesty that's a contribution when you have nothing to contribute. You have that. You have that honesty. I'm sorry for my inability to make it go away, right? That's what I felt like many times you said to me. And God knows you paid a big price in this with Seth because I accepted your offer of being, I guess, the whipping horse, and I was like, okay, this is what I need. I need you to do the impossible, and I asked you several times to do things that seem opposite what you would think you would do because you're very much an engager, right? Also, you were talking about being like our identity, and when we say sorry, that it takes this kind of seeing ourselves and seen our shortcomings. And one of the things I thought of this week when I was thinking about being sorry was like, in my life personally, and I don't know if this speaks about ego, pride, just misdirection or what, but I think I've experienced more shame in my life surrounding things I have no control over than things I've actually willfully chosen to do to people, or to myself, or to the world, right? Or to not give the world, or took from the world, or whatever. So things that I had no control, how I'm born, the family I'm given, what somebody I'm associated with says, or whatever, I have felt more shame of those things than my own personal behavior. So part of when I'm saying this day and age, I include myself in who I am in this day and age. That's what I experience more than anything else. And it's kind of funny because that is a little bit how things are on its head, like you said. So the gaps and cracks in our identity and stuff, I think with age, you had said like you get more used to being sorry, because I think there comes, if not a comfort, at least a willingness to acknowledge the ugliness in ourself, and to be open about it. And that's one of my favorite things about getting older, because I think it's one of the most helpful things we can give to one another is to just be regular, be low regular quite often, openly, so that people see it like, oh, I've no idea what I'm doing. That I can't think of anything more refreshing for young people to hear than for people in our generation and above say, yeah, we don't know what we're doing either. We've just been here not knowing a little bit longer, and showing them at least that comfort with having the wiggle room to get things right.
Mm-hmm.
This is all just my reaction to what you've said, which I think gives us more than enough to talk about for today.
So I'm I like, I mean, you're right. I mean, that's a very real thing, meeting with young people and just kind of
Oh, it's
being
huge, huge.
vulnerable and showing your imperfection.
It's
Like,
something our parents didn't show us enough, and I think many people can say, right?
it's funny because I'm thinking back to a different topic we had, and I was talking about my daughter Zaina, and I was saying, as I get older, I look at her and I teach her more today
Mm-hmm.
by simply saying, forgive me. It's going to take a minute. I don't quite get these things like you do. And that empowers her to have patience, to be a better teacher, to, just like, I'm sorry,
You
go
know,
slow.
you know the thing
You
that I'm
know?
hearing when you say that, forgive me, it takes me a minute, from her perspective, you have already empowered her, because the one thing she doesn't have when you don't present that part of you is she's left with no choice in your determination of life, of her, of your interaction, of your relationship, and you're giving her a choice in it by opening that up.
I also, as I thought about this, coming into today's topic, and I said, wow, what am I going to talk about? And what have I learned? What have I learned? And it's not universal because, we all learn in our own ways. And so I thought about being sorry, saying sorry. Um, and I found out as I flipped through the reels in my life that it wasn't until I really learned how to be and say sorry that I became my own benefactor.
Ooh,
You know,
expand, expand. Nice.
I gave myself something. It was almost like a gift of a little bit of wisdom from within. And it's like I kind of became my own teacher by my willingness to be apologetic. It's kind of like I recognize my behavior's bad and I don't really know how to change it because I've got some quirky behaviors. That's my wife. And and it's like, okay, so what would I do if I wanted to begin orchestrating a coup against my own bad behavior.
Ooh, I love
Okay.
that.
I'm like, okay, well, how about if I, what, and really self-serving, what if I start by just saying sorry so I can disarm the offended, you know? But what if I just say sorry? Let's give it a try, you know? And then it's like, you know, I recognize that I didn't clearly think through what I was doing, and I'm really sorry. I probably should have listened better. And all of a sudden, our would-be opponent, rival, adversary, nemesis, whatever you want to call it,
Angry
is kind of
spouse.
like his spouse. They're kind of left there like, all right, what do we got here? You know, but this is like the beginning stage of changing your own behavior, and this is what I mean by becoming your own benefactor. You know, I mean, like clearly we don't want to walk around being troublesome or burdensome or
Menacing. Yeah,
let
I'm
me know when
agreeing.
you're done.
I'm agreeing.
So that's what I mean by kind of, you know, changing behavior. Here's the thing: when you say sorry, not only do you begin to change your own behavior because that is a full acknowledgement if you mean it. I'm not talking about I'm sorry you took that the wrong way.
That sounds
I'm sorry
familiar.
that you're I'm sorry that your scope of tolerance is so small that
How are
you
you?
cannot
How
allow
are you so
me to
good at these
be.
examples?
Don't ask me any questions. I won't tell you any lies.
Okay, go on. I'm sorry.
Um, but that's like the first step. And just so you know, you're having way too much fun with this, Laura, because I can see you on our Zoom meeting. So you're having way too much fun. Um, but I think that that's how we begin to become our own um, leader, and we empower ourselves by just becoming a more agreeable human. And I'm talking about when we've wronged somebody. You know, there's a big difference between being sorry inside and having the willingness to vocalize that,
Right, right.
because therein lies the vulnerability.
True.
And go.
So this thing, these are shattering words if I've ever heard any, because I could take this my whole life a different direction now. I feel like now that you said about becoming our own benefactor, I never thought of that. I've never thought, I don't know why. Like I've never thought of like uh like this kind of this level of self-direction, which it seems so obvious now. But it's really liberating to hear that, because and it's such a good place to start is with sorry, because prior to you saying that, when I say sorry, part of the feeling I have attached to me is not a hope for healing. It's more of a feeling of self-loathing. You know, I'm so bad. Oh, I'm sorry, and maybe overcorrection on my part instead of proper correction. A little anger with the situation in general instead of a true sorry, and in the sense of that SORR, the sorrowfulness within myself that I've wronged somebody or myself. But there's also like a anger if I really get to the point of being sorry, because I will be very frustrated that I've behaved poorly. When I think of people outside of me, I don't think of the best teachers or healers as necessarily interacting with me in anger. But that's when you talk about being your own benefactor, and then you said your own teacher, what kind of behavior are we most responsive to? And that's right. That's why the sorry should be one of humility, but also decent temperament, right? Or else, like you said, you'd have to maybe question, is it sincere? Or
Mm-hmm.
is it backed into a corner? I'm sorry, which I'm not above that yet in my life. God bless you if you are. I'm just not. And the other thing is this idea of being self-leading, because in general, a leader is a person, to me, in the highest capacity of servitude. So to be a leader, you're serving. You have to be willing to serve. So to lead ourself talks about serving ourself in a kind of more agreeably human way. And the funny thing, ironically, about that is to be human, the minimum requirement is that you act like one. You have to meet certain expectations of being humane. And for those people, which we hope with all our heart, are fortunate enough to experience any kind of relationship, from friendship to nemesis, to because some of them end up being people you'll know your whole life. You don't know this when you're younger. We're talking a little bit about the young also. To people that you see as obstacles, parents, and then you grow older, your family, the people you choose to love and keep. If you enter into a marriage, and then you have that nuclear family with that. Anybody fortunate enough to be in any type of relationship of those, or ones I haven't included, they need to know that what comes with that is the pain of being wronged and wronging others. And sorry and getting things right is this cycle that we have to repeat, where we have to reconcile over and over and over. Because as much as people think of relationship as talking and doing this, a massive part of relationships is constant reconciliation. Because the moment you're unwilling to do that, that's the end of the relationship. It does become dead. You and I are fortunate, because I don't know, apart from being twins, if you'd be my buddy in life. I would always want to be your friend. I know this. But we have that bond where I always feel guaranteed of reconciliation, no matter how far I go, no matter how far you go. And that's a real safety. So all of this, to go back to what you said about being our own benefactor, do we give ourselves that? And from there, are we willing to say sorry? Because the one person you can't get away from relationally is yourself, period. Right? And so sorry does begin in that self and in the self's heart.
Yes, as you're going through all of this, there's some things that I absolutely agree with, about running from yourself. And, I mean, I remember telling you a long time ago about geography. And I
Oh,
said,
yeah.
no matter where you go,
There you
the
are.
bad part is you show up with you when you get there. No
Yeah.
matter where you go, you show up with yourself. And that's a little,
And
that's something that,
well, and if
that
you're culpable, you also show up with the common denominator in life. That's what I've learned from you.
Okay, you're using some really big words.
No,
Culpable.
because
That's that
if you
stuff you
say
put on fried
everybody,
rice.
no, so if you say everybody is doing something and you're kind of a victim, and then you get away from it, and then it's the same situation all over again.
Right, right, right. So, I left when I was pretty young. You know my story. So I felt,
I know your story, and I'm making you stick to it. Okay.
yeah, right. So leaving home, the nuclear, or the, nuclear times two.
Radioactive family.
I mean, what is nuclear nowadays? Nuclear nowadays is like a broken parents and,
Yes,
um,
right.
you know, and a same-sex marriage. That's like nuclear nowadays. So, so I remember that, like, I was very slow to trust, and being slow to trust kind of took me on a long road to discover, um, how to be sorry. Because in order to be sorry, you got to recognize that you were incorrect. I won't even say wrong. You were just incorrect. Bad information. And so all of a sudden you grow up a little bit older, and you've been doing things your way for so long, not because they're right, but because you learned how to cross the finish line on your own terms.
Right.
Twice as hard, 3 times the work, but I got it done.
And I know it
You know,
works.
Yeah, that's the whole work smarter, not harder. Well,
Yeah.
I only know how to do things this way, and
And I'd like you to
but
do them
all of a
that way
sudden,
too.
all of a sudden, you get a little bit older and you say sorry, and sorry becomes passive aggressive. It's like you're just saying that, you know, because you've been doing things
It
one
gets
way
to
for
where your
so
brother
long.
says, it gets to where your brother says, I'm sorry. And you answer, I hate you too. I'm just kidding.
So let me, as we kind of start to tie two ends of a bow here, I got something else I want to ask you.
Okay.
How often do we apologize to ourselves? It's something you should consider
I
because
don't.
it's an action, Lori. And like I apologize to myself, and when I think about like how do I apologize to myself? By not quitting. Because
Brilliant.
if I wanted to really give myself a heartfelt apology, when I got it wrong, I wouldn't quit. I would try something else.
The change, the necessary change you were talking about.
A changed behavior. So if I disappoint myself,
Whoa.
sorry, I got it wrong. Let's do it a little different. But I don't want to, I shouldn't say never. I don't want to use those kinds of words. I'm certainly not the authority, but I try to persevere. I try to triumph through adversity.
And if there's any great equalizer in life that I believe in, it's that we all face adversity. No matter who thinks they are extra special in that category or not, everybody gets it.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, and that's something I'll stand by no matter who thinks different of it, because but the difference is the ones that quit and do not, which actually I'd like to hear your final thoughts on sorry, but let's head here next with this idea that you just introduced here at the end of not quitting as a extension of learning to set things right with ourselves, right?
Yes,
That's
yes.
crazy good. Like, because we do. And the other thing is, how much do we attempt to set things right when we say we're sorry? Because sorry isn't an end, it's a means to an end. It's an introduction to, it's almost like if you say sorry, somebody should be able to, ideally, these are ideals, but what the heck? We still strive for ideals until we're 80 and haven't got it right, as far as I'm concerned. But ideally, you say sorry, and somebody should be able to hold with almost enthusiasm a certain level of expectancy of something to follow that, right?
I think that the internal apology is, they say nobody's a tougher critic than yourself, right?
Right.
But when you look at yourself, number one, you're identifying that it's important. You're identifying this is me. I'm not saying you. I really mean me. When I look at myself, I say I'm important. I deserve an apology, even from myself, because I put myself in harm's way emotionally, financially, um, health wise. So but once you hold yourself in such high regard that you're willing to apologize to yourself, like, two things are going to happen for me. One, I'm grateful. I'm grateful that I recognize it because it's an opportunity to learn. And number two, um, it's like, okay, I'm not giving up. I'm not quitting. I'm imperfect. I'm gonna keep on working at it. And there's some reassurance in that apology that we're still gonna get it right. And for me, maybe not for anybody else on the planet, but for me, when I vocalize something, it it becomes, it's kind of like matter, creating matter. It becomes matter in my mind when I vocalize it. It's like, there it is.
That's the power of of the heart. That is the creation of the heart is always through words, and that's why just changing does not do. But you also would have to say the words "I'm sorry" because that does matter, and it does become matter. It's like a proclamation of it, and I'm not saying as in matters like it's of importance. It's also that, but that's how you generate something tangible, right?
Hmm.
Something that's real. And I think the first apology, have you, so you do, you right now currently you apologize to yourself when needed be?
Yeah.
See, I don't think I've ever apologized to myself for anything.
Well, maybe it's because I've got multiple personalities, and so I'm like, I'm sorry I dragged you through
No,
that. You know?
Leroy, Jane apologizing to Sam doesn't count.
Okay.
That's a different matter. I was thinking when you were saying about apologizing, I was thinking a good place to start for people who've had hardship with parents, because that's our first heartbreak in life, right? Our first letdown or whatever for many is to say, I'm sorry. And I'm sorry I've never apologized to me. And I'm sorry for all the times I've continued treating myself the way my parents taught me I deserve to be treated. Like that's such a good
That's an
start.
entirely that's another topic altogether, but a good one.
No, but that's a good, that's what I was picturing, not for me, but for you, that would be like if I had heard you hadn't apologized, I would recommend that as the first. Like if you have been mistreated and you believe it, you owe yourself an apology. I don't mean you, but you, the world. You know what I'm saying? I'm
Has a lot of
sorry I
years.
believed people when they said this is my worth, and I agreed. I disagree starting today. Starting with I'm actually saying this for myself, and I'll start with an apology, with a sorry, a true sorry, and then you can expect a change. Watch out. Yep.
All right, Lori, we are knocking on the door of our window here,
Yep.
and are you ready? Are you ready for the big holiday?
Yeah. I mean, I don't require a whole lot of ready for it, but yeah.
Okay, let me rephrase that because I only got a little bit of time left. Did you go get my presents?
Yeah. That one?
Where are you going to park them? Where are you going to park my present?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I can't hear you.
We have it.
I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm
I
I'm
think this was good,
traveling.
Lori. Thank you.
Oh yeah, and you froze. Anyways, so until next time,
Yeah,
Leroy likes things with wheels that go vroom vroom, and it's good to say sorry. I hope those are the takeaways for today. For
absolutely.
those of
Thank you,
you
Lori.
who've joined us, again, we are sorry for our absence. It was time well spent, though, getting some stuff done. And please like this podcast and share it if you would like to help us out a little bit. Also, Strong Island Radio, you can like and share them as well. Leroy, until next time, and let's continue with the sorry to myself, or that internal apology and not quitting. We'll figure how to word it better.
Absolutely. Adios till next time.
Okay, bye bye.
Bye.